All right, we'd like to get started back. Our first presenter after the break is Marilyn Oshman. Marilyn's father opened Oshman Sporting Goods in the 1930s, and she herself was closely involved in the business, but art has been her real passion. Since the early 70s, she's been involved in art, and she's been one of the staunch supporters of the Orange Show Center for Visionary Arts. And we're going to welcome Marilyn today to talk about, she's the first of three presenters that are going to talk about the Orange Show in Houston. So, Marilyn? What do you do? You just talk away.
Okay.
How are you?
Well, good morning, everybody. I do not have a note, and I'm not sure what our group is going to flash on the screen, but I hope it's the Orange Show. I came today because I was the founder for the Orange Show Foundation for Visionary Arts, and I'm really excited to say that we run two beautiful sites that are within. Oh. Something's wrong. Jason, is it too loud? No. Oh, well. Excuse me.
Name tag. Try that.
Is that better? Okay. Well, okay. So I was just saying that I'm very excited to say that the Orange Show Foundation for Visionary Arts from Houston, Texas, operates two gorgeous sites that are inside the loop of the country's fourth largest city, and they are open to the public, and they are active, and they have active programming that involves our community. And when I think about all of the sites that are being discussed here today, and I look back on the long history of how all this happened, I realize that I'm really happy I live in Houston, and we have a remarkable city that really responded to two environments, which were two environments. One, the Orange Show itself, which is one site on the east side of Houston, and the Beer Can House. Two men working at approximately the same time. Neither of them knew each other. Each of them worked for approximately 25 years to complete their work. And we have been able to purchase them, restore them, and get them up and operating and attracting a large part of the community. And a lot of people have asked me how and why this happened. And we started with the Orange Show, and I think that part of it's because I had my introduction to the Orange Show site and to, hello? The picture, oh, where? Oh, excuse me. Okay, the Beer Can House. I don't know where the rest of them are. This is the Beer Can House. This is John Milkovich. Can we leave the lights on, please? This is Jeff McKissack, and this is the Orange Show, a little sliver of it. Anyway, the director of a museum that I was very involved with took me to see what he said was the best work of art in the city of Houston. And he took me to meet Jeff McKissack and to see the Orange Show for the first time. And Jeff McKissack had been working on the Orange Show for about 20 years at the time that I met him. So it was four-fifths finished, but the first party had started 20 years before, so it already was in what we would call need of attention, but he was excited to complete the last portion of it. He did finish it. He ultimately opened it to the public in 1978. in what he thought was proper condition, and unfortunately, he died within 6 months of its opening. When he died, I used to go and visit him a lot. Whenever I was very involved with the museum, so whenever visitors came to Houston, every time my job was to take people to visit Jeff McKissack and see this really unusual site in Houston. So people were getting to know it, and that was a very important part of the reason we were able to save it and have the history that it's had. At any rate, after his death, he never married. He was a man who lived alone, never married, never had any children, was very friendly. You can kind of see from the smile on his face. And more than anything, he loved the Orange Show. And so every time he would take a person there, it was like he was taking them through it for the very first time. And that's part of his own love affair with the property, is part of what I think was his great gift in communicating that to the people who came there. Now, I'm going to do something. Okay, this is a little piece of the Orange Show, by the way. This is a little piece that we'll talk about in a minute. But anyway, he left the Orange Show at his death to his only surviving relative, which was a nephew of a sister of his. The nephew was 75 years old when he inherited the Orange Show and had no idea what it was. I'd like to show you a picture of the whole Orange Show, but I don't know where it is, so you'll have to see it in a few minutes. It's not in the line that I thought it was. But anyway, when the man came, his nephew, Alex Hurst, he was an ex-FBI agent, and I think the last thing he expected to inherit was a structure like the Orange Show. It had a small museum in it, a labyrinth, a pond, a steamship. It's a typical environment, which I think that Conservative Solutions, Joe and Grace, will show you when it's their turn. Anyway, the nephew didn't know what to do with this. And so he didn't know if he should sell it, should he tear it down, should he just, sell the property. But anyway, he was going through his uncle's things, and on the top of his uncle's desk, there was a note, and it said, "Dear Alex, if you don't know what to do with the Orange Show, call Marilyn Lubetkin." That was my name then. And it had my phone number. And he had been dead at this point for 3 or 4 months. And this man called me and he said, "My uncle said that you could tell me what to do with the Orange Show." And so I had no idea what he should do with it, but I loved the Orange Show, and so I went to meet with him. And after a year that was very difficult trying to figure out, I think he thought that he could make a lot of money by turning it into a food stand. I heard somebody refer to that a little while ago from another structure. But anyway, he finally decided that he would sell it to us. And so I put together a group that included 2 of the most powerful women in Houston who were much older, but I took everybody I could out there to see it and to say, "Do you think this is worth saving?" And they all said, "This is fabulous, you can't let this go." So to start with, for the lady who asked me, "How do you do this?" I think you have to build a constituency who has the same passion for it, and people who are respected in your community who can help you communicate the message to a larger group. Anyway, we did buy it. 26 people bought it. We paid $10,000 for it. And we contributed it all to a foundation so that everybody, all 26 people had put in this, actually $500. And when you stop to think about what the Orange Show has become and what it's given the city of Houston, it's like a great investment that takes up a lot of time and energy to keep it going. Anyway, so we opened it up, we restored it. We didn't really know what restoration meant then. And I wish I had done this before that, but I didn't. And I didn't know about all this. So, but we did the best we could, and we thought we did a great job, and we had some local architects who were really loved what they did. They fixed it up, and we've been operating it ever since. And the reason I wanted to speak today was to talk for a minute about the importance of, we won a wonderful grant from the NEA, and we are working now with SWCA Environmental Consultants and Conservation Solutions, Joe and Grace. And the questions that it has brought to mind are what I wanted to present to this group, which are the fine line between doing the most sophisticated product from Dow that this gentleman spoke of, I don't know what the name of it is, and matching that with the ethos of the place and the great marvelousness, charm, magic that emanates from these environments from the hand, and to somehow integrate into the engineering solution something that will reflect something of the artist as well as doing the most to stabilize it for the future. A lot of these people, Jeff McKissack, did not think. He did not think for 1 minute about how long is this going to last. He only thought about, what does this look like? What does it feel like? And am I going to get finished before I die? I guess that's what he thought, although he thought he'd live forever. But as soon as it was over, he actually did pass away. But I thought I would bring out the question about the ethos, about the engineer and the artist, putting them together with this photograph. And this is inside of the museum at the Barn Show, and it demonstrates the problem perfectly. This model has her head under a deer head. Can everybody, is it clear? Okay, and if you notice that left eye, if you kind of concentrate on the left eye for a second, you'll notice that it isn't really an eye. Well, we've always thought it was a ping pong ball because the real eye had fallen out of the deer, so he didn't have the money to go buy a new deer head. So he simply painted a ping pong ball and stuck it and pasted it into the eye of the deer. The other eye is in. And then you'll also notice, it's hard to see, but that he tied the horns of the deer, they're just tied on with a string. Now, he knew this wasn't perfect, because he knew, but he needed to get it finished. So when you redo this, the question is, now that the skin and the hair of the deer is shrinking up, it's been there for 30 years now, should we get a new deer head? Is that what you're supposed to do when you stabilize these places? Should we put in another ping pong ball? What's the deal? We don't really know, but maybe somebody here has an answer, and that would be really great. There's a whole lot more I could tell you. I don't know. I didn't make any notes, as you can see. I'm talking right off the top of my head. I don't really know what else to say except that what it takes to do this and keep it going for 30 years is to develop a program that involves the community. Without the community and the neighborhood support, I don't think there's any way these things can have a real life. And it's very good timing that we're following Watts Towers, because my first trip, when I decided I was going to make a real effort, when Mrs. DeMonil says she thinks this is good, Marilyn, go do it, I knew I was going to do it. And the first thing I did was to come out to see the Watts Towers. This was in 1978 or 9, and I visited with a man named Seymour Rosen, who gave me a plan and said, get a petition, go to the neighbors, and make the neighbors sign it. And so we just went for 3 square blocks, and we had a petition, and we took people, we asked them, do you think that the Orange Show is worth keeping? Would you like to have it in your neighborhood? Do you mind having it in your neighborhood? And everybody signed it. So that was the beginning. And that developed a relationship with our community that has lasted all these 30 years, because the kids get invited to things, whether it's art classes, we'll have a barbecue once a year for the neighbors. Anyway, that's kind of part of how you get it done. And then after that, we did develop something called the Art Car Parade, which has become a Houston favorite and now attracts about 250 to 300,000 people a year, which really comes from the energy of these sites. And trying to explain this to people is very hard, but I'm here, and I hope that you guys will understand it. Anyway, I don't have anything else to say. Please feel free to ask me questions.